Hi, friends. Kathryn Korostoff here from Research Rockstar, and I'm very excited today to have a very special guest. Today, joining me, I have Sharekh Shaikh from CleverX. You'll be learning a little bit more about his company in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you about our topic. Those of us who do professional quality market research and insights work often work in consumer research or B2B research. There's a small percentage of people in our Research Rockstar community that work in nonprofit as well. But a lot of our work is in either consumer research or B2B as professional researchers. And one of the things that we know is that while there are many methodology similarities that we use in both consumer and B2B research, one of the big differences we run into is access to quality sample for data collection purposes, whether we're doing survey research or qualitative research. So when I met Sharekh recently, that's a topic that came up, and that's something that he's passionate about. So I was very excited to be able to have him to join us for this conversation. And for those of you who haven't met Sharekh before, he is the founder of CleverX, and this is a new online market research platform that just launched in 2020. And he's had other past leadership positions, including a leadership position at Gartner. So he does have a unique background in terms of working with different types of executives at large organizations about their market research and insights needs. Sharekh, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I'm going to jump right into it.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. It's a pleasure to be here.
So again, one of the things you and I talked about was the issue of B2B sample quality. How did you get interested in this as a topic and eventually make it as an offering through the platform?
Yeah, so my background has always been into technology. So I'm a computer science engineering grad by training, and I got the opportunity to work on multiple research projects with Microsoft, Nokia, Siemens, and eventually ended up working for Gartner, which is one of the largest technology research companies. The more I dwelled into the research space, I figured out that, around $50 billion is spent on just online surveys, B2B and B2C, all over the US. And this could be international project, but the money is flowing from the US. And the way B2B is done felt very traditional to me because of the sample quality and the conflict of interest with different players across a research project. And I wanted to solve that problem because it's such a massive problem for especially a researcher when they have no idea about who their sample really is, like on an individualistic level. Wanted to solve that problem. And that's where I think CleverX idea came in, and we launched a tool because most of our research customers had the same problem of not having the confidence into their online survey insights because they just don't know who their survey participants really are. And I think bringing that transparency and trust to that process was one of the most important things for us as a mission, as a company. And that's what we are doing right now at CleverX. We're building a tool which can bring that transparency and trust to the online survey sample space.
So you made a few statements that I need to follow up on. One is you refer to a conflict of interest and between parties who are involved in conducting B2B research. Can you tell me what you're specifically referring to there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at a research project, right, let's say you're doing a project for a large enterprise. The large enterprise cares about the final report and the findings that you bring in as a researcher. So they give you an entire turnkey project like, hey, why don't you program my survey, find the audience that's relevant for B2B research, and give me the findings as a final result. What happens is research companies go out there to talk to multiple panels. And unfortunately, our industry is facing with a lot of unreliable panels. And there's a black market out there where people's full-time job is to just take surveys on someone else's behalf.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you. So you're
Sure.
not talking about the conflict of interest necessarily between people who are conducting the research and facilitating the research. You're talking about the fact that there's a conflict of, I'm not even sure, a broader conflict of interest in just that there is cheap, low quality sample out there that people might be bringing to a project.
Yeah, the reason I use that word, which is conflict of interest, it's mostly a financial conflict of interest, which means that a panel provider wants to provide you with the maximum number of responses they can, right? And as a researcher, you're aligned to that because you want to give the best output to your customers. But what happens is when there is no trust or transparency on every respondent, they end up sending you responses which are not high quality because the job is to maximize on that project. And I think that's where the conflict arises when it comes to a research project, which was very fascinating to me because according to SMR, and I think I read a blog post they mentioned is almost 40% of data on online surveys is fraudulent. So that's a huge number. I don't think any other industry probably has that as a standard where you have to go through all these different responses to figure out which could be bad versus which could be good responses, and still not have the confidence on the 60%. And I think that's happening because of that conflict of interest. That's why I referred to
Got
that
it.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding, 'cause I think that what happens also somewhat related to that is sometimes if you are, say, if you're the research manager on the client side, maybe you work at a CPG brand, if you're
Yeah.
working with a market research agency, they then don't always have their own panels. They're working with other third parties for the online panel access. And obviously the reputable research agencies spend a lot of time to make sure that they've got reputable partners. But even
Yes.
then, as you say, there are fraudulent responses. And, I think anybody who does any amount of online surveys these days knows that it's not uncommon to have to throw out 10% or more of the records that you have collected
Absolutely.
because of fraud, because you can tell that it's suspicious. And the good online panel companies will replace it.
Yeah.
But still, that is a challenge. It raises just sort of this general negative halo of like, wow, if there were 10 or 20% of these records were bad, were there others that were bad and we didn't
Yes.
catch them?
Yes. Yes. So that kind of shakes the confidence of the researcher. And I think that becomes the challenging part when you're talking to your end user customer, and saying like, I'm 100% confident on my insights. And I think a lot of researchers struggle with that, or even a researcher who's at the board meeting, which is someone who's insights manager at a large company. It is very difficult for them to answer certain questions to the board as well when they're providing their findings, because that confidence lacks, in those conversations. And I think it's a big deal for a researcher to have that confidence while you're sharing, because there are multi-billion dollar decisions based on some projects, Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I feel like these days there are a few different factors that are contributing to a little bit of skepticism about market research results. And I certainly agree with you that panel quality, sample quality is one of them. You mentioned the SMR data. Do you happen to know whether or not that SMR data was specific to B2B, or was that an overall SMR finding that 20% of online panel respondents are fraudulent?
Yeah, I think it was mostly online surveys is what they mentioned. I don't think they split it between B2B versus B2C, but please don't quote me on it because it's been a while that I read that blog post. But from what I remember very well, it was mostly about overall online survey as a space. Yeah.
All right. So for our listeners, I'll try to find the link and post it in with the show notes because I think that would be an interesting data point. Now, I can just tell you from my own experience and from the clients that I work with that it's very high in both.
Yeah.
I don't know if one is higher than the other, but it's certainly high in both, that
Yeah.
we see fraudulent in both. I think sometimes in B2B, it can be easier to spot because of the types of questions that you're asking.
Yes.
You can tell like, oh, if they said this on question 3, but then they said this on question 8, that can't possibly be right. On the other hand, we are usually offering bigger incentives for B2B research. So people are motivated
Yes.
to to lie to get in.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've established that we all care about sample quality and that it's important because it's one of the key things that can really derail confidence overall in the work that's being presented from market research and insights projects. So you became interested in this. You became specifically interested in B2B online sample. So tell me about how you decided to approach this with your platform.
Yeah, so there was only one way to solve this problem, and we gave it a lot of thought while we were building CleverX, is a company that will be able to bring in the right audience, which is 100% verified into a platform, and give market researcher complete access to a profile of a person and the ability to connect with even every single survey respondent through messaging or chat should be a good solution to solve that problem. So I think for us as CleverX, the reason we call ourselves an audience discovery platform is it looks like very much like a professional network where you as a researcher have the ability to chat with every respondent, invite an individual respondent for your survey before your survey starts. And that that is very powerful because you know exactly who's going to take up your survey. You've gone through the profiles, or sometimes you can just do a bulk select based on the expertise, the industries, the location of a person, the company data that's there on the profiles. And that makes it really powerful for any research to use.
So obviously in the traditional world of online panels, participant information is considered highly proprietary to the panel company. So a panel company doesn't want to tell you who actually is in the panel, but
Yep.
you're doing things differently. You're making it completely transparent so they can see who in fact is in the panel. Am I following you correctly?
You're absolutely right. And I think the most it's kind of funny as well, but most of the panel companies use GDPR and say that the research respondents don't want to share their information. We do not believe that's true. I think thousands of surveys happen every week on our platform, and almost every respondent is okay to share their information. So the problem is not with the respondents, which has been used to mask the unaccountability of or not owning the responsibility of the quality of data. People are okay to share their information because they actually want to even know what research insights came out of the project that they participated in. So we get that all the time from research respondents. We're like, hey, I participated in this project. Can I get like a one pager, like what did these guys discover, because it was from my industry. I was really excited about that survey, and would they be okay to share those findings with us, even if it's just like general trends. So that's really exciting. People want to connect and collaborate with each other in
I love
like
that.
it's just a human thing to do. But I think using that and the GDPR laws to not share that information is not the reason why companies or unreliable panels are doing that.
Yeah, I think that I think many of us understand that it's really a thinly veiled issue of, for a panel company, that their panel is their asset. And
Yeah.
so if they reveal identifiable information, then they lose control of that asset. That's why a lot of online panel companies don't like to recruit for qual research.
Yeah.
And I hear this all the time from people who are trying to do consumer or B2B qual research. And they say, okay, I need some creative ideas for recruiting because my online panel company won't recruit for qual because due to the interactivity and having to share login information, et cetera, I am going to have this person's email address, and the panel companies generally do not want to do that. So with your approach, are you recruiting for both survey and qualitative projects?
Yeah, so if you think of CleverX, our common denominator is the audience, and the same audience can be used for online surveys as well as for qualitative research interviews. And we've decided to take a completely opposite direction, flip the whole process by giving 100% transparency to our researchers who use the platform. And we have not faced that problem of proprietary data or things such as someone's going to take away our panel. And it's fine if they do give them more opportunities. We'll be happy if that happens to the audience that has signed up on our platform. But I personally believe from understanding this space for the last few years is transparency and trust is the only way to fix the problem of fraud. There is no other way to do it. So if we continue going through the traditional path of doing the way things have been done for the last 20, 30 years, this problem is going to become bigger and bigger every passing year rather than like shrinking. So there has to be a new way to do this, a better way to do it. Yeah.
And I really appreciate your creative thinking about this whole thing. As a participant, though, is there, if I'm opting into this, am I worried that, gosh, all these businesses are going to see my contact information and I might get unsolicited contacts? Or is there?
You don't get your contact details disclosed on the platform. You can definitely get in touch with the research participant through the platform by messaging them. They will get a notification that, hey, Kathryn messaged Sharekh. Sharekh was a research participant, and I'll receive a message from you saying like, hey, I want to talk to you more about this research or this project. But your contact details will never be disclosed to anyone. We make sure that doesn't happen. You also have the ability to make your profile private, and you opt in every single time you participate in a survey. So if you don't like the incentive, or you don't want to share your information because you think there could be a conflict of interest, you don't have to participate. You're not forced to participate into a research study. It's completely up to the respondent or the participant to participate or not.
Got it. So it's transparent. So if I'm a customer and I'm on the platform, I can see that Jennifer Evans is on the platform and that she is the HR manager at a company that qualifies for one of my studies. I might not be able to see her contact information directly. I can message her directly. If I really wanted to, not that this would be at all scalable, I could take her name, go over to LinkedIn, pop her name into LinkedIn and try to hunt her down that way. But again, not very scalable.
You do get your LinkedIn profile of that person right within the platform itself. So you can verify it from there as well. You don't even have to go on LinkedIn and search for her. You can click on her LinkedIn profile, which is connected to our platform, just to make sure that we just want to give our customers or researchers or consulting firms even the ability to be confident and have that trust in the platform and the people that they're working with. So that's the reason we've taken like 100% transparency route, to this problem. Yeah.
Got it. So there could be some bad actors who might take advantage of the system, but the
Yeah.
assumption is that most people are going to appreciate the convenience and the transparency and the scalability by going through your platform.
Absolutely. So, you can create a fake LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn cannot solve that problem even today. Same problem is with Facebook, the Meta, Instagram, or TikToks as well, right? You can create fake profiles, but there are ways to solve that as well. So we have this technology, which runs in real time across the entire platform 24/7, which detects fraudulent profiles as well. So if we know like we have like 132 data points about a person's information, and they've agreed to give us that information with signing up with the terms and conditions. So our researchers know that these are legitimate profiles rather than like fraudulent. The moment a profile gets fraudulent on CleverX or gets flagged in our system, they don't show up on the search results. So as a researcher, you're confident the people that you're looking for are legitimate, verified people.
Got it. Now, I do think it's interesting. I've noticed that you don't refer to what you folks do as B2B online panel. You refer to it as a audience discovery platform.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because in B2B, the biggest challenge for any researcher, and this has been across multiple surveys that have happened with product managers, market researchers, the biggest challenge is recruiting these people, be it online surveys or interviews like B2B call interviews. It's very difficult to convince someone on LinkedIn who's a stranger to you to participate in your research because there is no monetization mechanism and they have to trust you that you're going to pay them if they do the job, which is very difficult for someone, just popped up in your email and said like, hey, can you participate in my survey? And I'm going to pay you $50, $100 for it. I might be interested, but I don't trust the other person on the other side because we don't know each other. CleverX solves that problem by guaranteeing to our users that once they participate in a project, which is a successful research work that they're doing, they are guaranteed to get paid. So that solves the monetization problem or trust problem for them, which is an issue on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, do you allow the customers who are placing orders for B2B panel or sample, can they make requests in terms of the participants' history with you? For example, I might want to do a project, but I don't want people who've already taken 10 surveys this year. Is that something I have some control over?
You do. Actually, your search allows you to find people based on multiple various parameters. Even if you, for example, we get this a lot of times where you've done a project in January and you're doing the second wave of the project in June, let's say, you don't want your previous participants to be there. So in our platform, you have something called as stored audiences as well. So if you've stored the audience before and you don't want that audience to participate in the new June online survey, you can totally do that. But sometimes you want to use the same audience as well because you're trying to follow them across the entire year on how their thinking is changing maybe or their perception around a particular product or service. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a lot of longitudinal research out there. So I could see the benefit of both scenarios. All right, then I guess just one last question is, can you give us some information about the size of the pool?
Yeah, so we have somewhere around 20,000 senior business professionals on the platform. CleverX is known for its use case of hard to reach audiences. So the people that you're not able to connect with through LinkedIn or other panels, CleverX comes in as that platform. So we have 20,000 people. We've grew almost like 6, 7 times in the last 3 years. So the company is doing incredibly well. The biggest names use CleverX as a platform for research today. And hopefully we'll grow the team, double the team in the next 12 to 18 months here.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on all the growth to date. And again, you're speaking on a topic that I know has been one that's been challenged for me in my work, and also my clients in their work, in terms of getting to quality B2B samples. So I love that you're sort of challenging the whole model and doing something really different with it. So always love that kind of creativity. Sharekh, can you tell us a little bit about how you would like, if anybody has any further questions, where can they learn more about your company?
Yeah, they can simply go and sign up on cleverx.com. So you can, sign up for free, use the platform and see how you feel about it. Or you can reach out to me over email, which is Sharekh, which is my first name, SHAREKH @cleverx.com. I'm usually on LinkedIn as well, so they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was really great to hear about a new way of tackling the problem with panel quality. And for those of you who have joined us today, of course, Conversations for Research Rockstars is a video podcast available on YouTube. If you prefer an audio only version, you can check us out as audio only on the various audio podcast platforms. And if you did find value today, please do be sure to give us a review, give us a like, subscribe. It helps us to get found in the YouTube universe. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.